Hey Nathan.
Hey Bill, how you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you very well. Thank you for having me come on today. Looking forward to it.
Who are you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Nathan Hannawin. I'm a film director and teacher from London, although I don't live there anymore. I live just outside. But yeah, this is what I do. I make films for a living, which is great. It's great fun.
And so you said you mentioned you're a director. Do you shoot as well, or?
I have, I have been a self shooter in the past. I have kind of worked as a DP, but I would never take a job as a DP now. Really, it was fun doing it. It just perhaps kind of came as a necessity at a time rather than a choice of I really want to be a director DP. I don't think I'm a very good DP for a start. There's a lot of better people than there is myself. And there's a lot of people who really want to do it more than I want to shoot. But I came into film, wanting to be a director, and luckily it's turned out that way.
What was the latest project that you worked on?
The last project that was completed was a short film. We filmed it in 2018. I think we finished in early 2019. It's actually done. But it was called The Love Letter. It was a lesbian romance film. We've kind of been working on a film called Scales. It's a feature film that I directed. That's gone on for about 3 years, I think, or so. We've been doing that, and we're still going on it as you do. So yeah, The Love Letter was definitely the last finished film. And although Scales is finished and cut and everything, it's not out yet. So it's almost it's just that final hurdle of getting it all out.
How long is it going to be?
I think it comes in about an hour and 16 minutes. So it's not, it's a relatively short feature. It fits. It's all in real time. All the events happen in real time. So it kind of sits quite nicely within that.
And Love Letter is a short.
Short film, I think it runs at just about 18 minutes.
So it was 2018, and Scales was 2019.
Yeah, well, we started, oh, gosh, it was ages ago. We actually started making the film. I think we actually shot it in 2017, like springtime. Because I remember it was Mother's Day when we were shooting. We shot for like 3 weeks, almost every day, apart from Mother's Day. Yeah, so 2017. So
And then it just took a long time in post production.
yeah, so it's a micro budget feature. The budget wasn't big for this at all. Just after I finished, we shot it. I think about 2 months later. I'd started to make a director's cut. I ended up moving house twice, and that just takes up so much time, energy moving house. And then we eventually did work with composers, a proper editor, and color graders, and all this. Had to do some ADR, but because it's a micro budget feature, a lot of these people, like our editor, for example, I said to him, like, we can only pay you so much, so if you have a job that comes in that's going to pay you like £1,000 a day or whatever, do it. You've got a wife and kids to look after, if not that. So it's kind of a bit of a favours help, but we understand with what it was. We couldn't force people to be working 12 hours a day for 6 months straight getting it finished.
Yeah, a lot of creatives have, they work for like, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks in a row, and then they may have nothing, for a couple of weeks, and they might want to challenge themselves in, or even help. I mean, even, I've been helped so much that, when people ask me if I can do it, I'm very happy to do it. I really like this aspect of our industry. Well, tell me a little bit about the story. Let's talk about Scales first. Tell me a little bit about the story of it and how it came together and what inspired you to tell that story.
So Scales is all set in real time. It's essentially, I don't want to give him any spoilers away. It's about a drug dealer who invites three of his friends round for a bit of a party. And he's got a bit of a nasty surprise waiting for them at the end. And kind of without their knowledge, he's actually brought them there specifically, each there specifically to help them out with their sort of skills, so to speak. Without giving it away, that Scales in a nutshell. Sort of, it's all in one location, or just about all in one location, real time, very tight, claustrophobic. Really tense and quite suspenseful all the way through, which is what we like. But I came into it, so the script and everything had already been written. It was written by a chap called Joe Harvey, and it's produced by Anthony Vander, who stars in it as well. He plays Darnell. And those guys, they made a film a couple of years before that called Sweet Boy, and then this was going to be their second feature together. So I came on. They hired me after the script had already been done. So we kind of just worked in it. They'd already cast a couple of the actors as well. So we came on, cast everyone else we needed to. Found the location. I hired pretty much all the crew. I think it wasn't a big crew, we couldn't afford a big crew. A lot of the people there were on sort of favours and mates rates and stuff like that as well. But we were all really young, I had done a feature before, and Anthony and Joe had done a feature before. But for the majority of us, it had only kind of been like short films or music videos or short form content, and they hadn't been that long out of university or school or wherever they may have studied. So we kind of all just chucked ourselves together, and I thought, fuck it, let's just do this. And yeah, we made a great film out of it. And I've seen the film 100 times now, but I can still just about watch it.
Just to give an idea to the audience, what was the budget that you had for it, and how did you apply for funding, or?
No, we didn't apply for any funding. I kind of kept myself away from that part. Applying for funding, it can be great if you get it, but a lot of the time it's a bit of a pain in the arse. You can wait for ages, apply to 100 places and get nothing back, and then before you know it, you've just wasted a year waiting for replies. We done crowdfunding actually, so I'd done crowdfunding before, but we crowdfunded this film. We were successful with what we asked for, and then there was some sort of private finance that came in along the way as well. But the whole budget was under 10,000. I think it probably came in about 8,000 tops. So it's really not a lot of money. You look at all of the Avengers or anything like that, they'll be spending how much on coffee a week, but we managed just about to get the whole film done for that.
In terms of funding, I had a very nice chat last week with someone, a writer director, and she's also a teacher, and she teaches us Queen Mary, and she said something that kind of like made me change a little bit my position towards it. What she finds very, very, very useful is the fact that you get a lot of back and forth with people who are within industry. So they will look into your story, they will give you feedback, they will basically almost like rewrite your film in a way. And that can be very, very positive, because they know the industry inside out, because they receive thousands and thousands of applications and scripts. And I was like, oh wow, I've never thought about it. That's actually very interesting. So I've never applied for funding, for the same reason that you mentioned, but this thing made me kind of like rethink my approach towards it. What would you say was your proudest achievement?
Well, there's kind of a couple of things really. So, well, it is two. I was really trying to work out which was the biggest really. So in 2018, I won an award. It was Film Director of the Year by the International Achievers Awards. And I don't even know how I got nominated. I just saw it on a post on Instagram or something like that one day. I was like, holy shit, I've been nominated. That's all right. And it was like a public vote, so maybe, I only won it because I knew the most people. But hopefully I won it on skill. But yeah, so the awards event, it was in like North London somewhere. I can't remember, in this hotel. I didn't think I was going to win. Like, these other people seemed pretty cool, and they had done like a lot of work. I think there's eight people in total, so I was against 7 others. But I went down on my own. Met a couple of people there, and yeah, they called my name out, and I was like, great. And I was had to go on a little stage, got the awards.
Do you know what did you win it for? Was it a specific project, or was it a career thing, or?
I think it was more of a career thing than a specific project, because I had a couple of films on the go about that time. And normally I'm pretty shit with like Instagram and social media and that sort of thing, because I had so much work on. I was constantly, almost like 4 times a week just putting social media posts out, which I don't normally do. That's a lot for me. But I was, so perhaps it just came up from that. They saw me on social media. These things were getting quite a lot of likes. For my stuff, they were getting far more likes than they normally do. and all the pictures were good. You know, we had a professional photographer, set photographer there. So maybe it was that. Yes, I don't know. As I said, I don't think it was from one specific film. I think it was, you know, just for work in general.
So that was one. You mentioned there's another one.
Yes, so the first feature film I co-produced and directed was Sleaford Mods' Invisible Britain. And kind of, again, that was a proper whirlwind, you know, it just sort of happened so quick. And we shot the film, you know, we went from like December the, say, 15th was when Paul and I, the person I made it with, we first mentioned, let's do this film. In 2014, and then I think October the 10th, 2015, the film was premiering on Shaftesbury Avenue. So within a year, like 9 months or something like that, you know, 10 months, we had made this film. You know, I'd made like 1 or 2 shorts and a music video before that, and Paul hadn't made a film before. So it's just a complete whirlwind getting it done. But kind of when I realised it was like this proper final product, it was also one of the like scariest experiences I've had in film. But because we were playing at a picture house, like they said to me they wanted a DCP of the film. I don't know if anyone knows who's watching. DCP is like a special file that goes in a projector. It's like a special hard drive. And I had no idea what this was at the time. So the nice people at picture house said, "Oh, we'll make the DCP for you. Just bring it down in ProRes, like a good copy and all that, and then come and check it, make sure it's all working." I was like, "Yeah, cool." So I went down the day before it came out, the day before the release, and I sat in the cinema on my own, like a 400-seat cinema, watching the film. I was like, "Oh shit, this is crazy! I've never seen something like this on a big screen." And to be the only person in the cinema watching it, making sure there's no mistakes or no errors, that's pretty daunting. But also like, wow, this is crazy. You know, they're playing like The Martian next door, and I'm on this screen sharing my film. That was wicked. But when you see it on a big screen, you do notice little mistakes that you can't see on your monitor at home.
Tell me a little bit about the project. How did you get onto it, and what it is about, and just also maybe the challenges. What did you find difficult? I watched the film. I think it's an incredible film. I love the political analysis, and I really like the way you shot it. Tell me a little bit more about that film.
At the time, I was working for this company called Gig Sluts. I know it's a bit of a stupid name, but it's like an online music magazine. I was just like doing some videography work, you know, going and meeting some bands, shooting an interview with them, maybe filming some gigs and stuff like that. So we're doing with that for a couple of months, and then the guy who managed it, Steve, he called us up. He says, "Oh, you know, pop down to Brighton, check out this band, Sleaford Mods." I'd never heard of them at the time, and I was like, "Yeah, like, yeah, I'm going to do that." And before, I always listened to a bit of their music. Any band I met, if I didn't know who they were, I'd listen to a bit of their music just to kind of get an idea. And I put on Sleaford Mods on YouTube, and the first video that came up was Tied Up in Knots. And I think when I was listening to it, I was talking to someone at the same time. I had someone else in the room, so I wasn't paying like full attention to the video. Because it's the first time I've even seen what the Sleaford Mods look like, and it's very different to normal bands. I expected a bunch of hipsters because it was Brighton, but then they were kind of different to that. But when the line "tied up in knots with Z, you cunt," that's when I really got sort of pulled into their lyrics. I'm like, "Oh shit, man, this band's fucking awesome." I love punk music, but I was never old enough. I'm only 32. I never got to experience punk. Pistols or the Clash or anyone back in the 70s. I started listening to the Sleafords. It's like first for me hearing punk that I can see in my life. But anyway, we went down to Brighton. I met Paul there. Met the bands. We filmed an interview, walked around Brighton, and the guys were really nice. They really chilled out, really clued up. Really just about music and wanted to get their stuff done. And we got on well. And a couple of weeks later, I think Paul and I were at a bit of a party, and we said, "Oh, should we make a film about the band we met a month ago, or whatever, Sleaford Mods?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then we were at a party, we both got a bit pissed, and nothing really came of it. But you know what? so many times you've been at a party, everyone's had a drink, and you talk about making a film, and it doesn't happen. You know, this happens day in, day out. But then it was Christmas Day, but I was in Austria, so Christmas Day is on the 24th there. So I text Paul on the 25th, so Boxing Day as I was having it, but Christmas Day for him, and said, yeah, do you actually want to make this film? And he texted back saying, yeah. And I was like, cool, I'm back in England on like the 28th or something, let's catch up. So we met each other again, sort of planned it out and thought, shit, we ain't got any money. We're going to have to raise some money. So we went through crowdfunding, we decided to do that. And then, yeah, in February, we were on tour with them going across the country. So it just happened really, really quick. The pre-production stage was next to nothing. So obviously the whole production of Sleaford was, it's pretty crazy. It was whirlwind, it was so quick. Trial by fire. I was actually in my second year of university when I made it. So I was 26 when we were doing the film, and I didn't actually get into filmmaking until a little bit later in life. But yeah, I was in university doing this, and it wasn't a university project. But I just told my tutor, it's like, I'm not going to be here for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it was. I'm making a film, I'm going on tour with this band. Like, they're actually pretty big, this is not your average little student project or anything like that. And they were cool with it. They weren't going to stop me doing it. They could have said no, sort of thing. That I'm sure they wouldn't have done. So it was kind of mad. So all of it was, as I said, this trial by fire sort of thing. I don't think as many people have made a film in their second year of their BA that has gone on to do so well. So I'm very grateful. I'm very fortunate to have been in that situation to do it.
And so tell me a little bit more about the film. So you mentioned that you really liked the two guys, the musicians. What did you like about it? And just, tell me a little bit more about the film.
So the documentary itself is a very observational documentary that goes around the Midlands of Britain on their 2016 tour, 2015 tour, sorry, shit, it's been that long ago, in the build up to the general election of that year. A lot of it, they wanted to do a tour like Weller used to do and go to these working class towns, a really traditional towns tour. So we went to places like Wakefield, Stockton, Barnsley, Stoke, loads of places that have been a very traditional industrial town. We didn't go to every gig, they were touring, I don't know, say they were on tour for 2 months, we went for 3 weeks. We went and picked up a couple of little other gigs along the way as well, but the main tour was about 3 weeks. But a lot of these places, I'd heard of them, but I hadn't been there. I didn't really know too much. And these, take anywhere that were in Yorkshire, for example, or Barnsley. Well, I don't want to, can't really say it anywhere specific because they're all in the same boat. These are industrial towns that have been fucked over by both left wing and right wing governments for decades, and there's just a lot of anger. They're always generally perceived, or mainstream media, let's say, gives these places a bad light. That it looks at London as like a superior bubble to the rest of the country, but these places just have as much life and charisma than London, if not a lot more, to be honest. And the main thing there, so if the band are playing a gig there, we went to meet communities there who were fighting against austerity at the time. We've been about at that point, 4 or 5 years into austerity. People are really starting to get pissed off. Unfortunately, we're still in the same boat. It actually has got worse. We didn't think it could, but the shit hit the fan and it kept spinning.
Well, there is something that changed. We have more and more people that are saying that austerity doesn't really help. Like all the excuses that they have to put austerity measures in, they don't really work. They're not helpful, and they don't help the economy. So I really hope that people start realizing that this whole myth of the Tories being good at economy is just that. It's just a myth.
It's good that people are talking about it now, but it's taken 10 years to get to this point. Fuck, that's too long already. If this was happening 9 years ago, then maybe we'd be in a better situation. And I think you know, I don't want to bang on too much about the political side. Obviously, you know, we've had, obviously recently COVID's taken everyone's attention, but you know, Brexit, that people seem to focus so much on Brexit, they ignored the fact we've been living in austerity for what, 6 years at that point. You know, they're blaming, all the blame somehow shifted to like the EU or immigrants, and ignored the fact that the Tories are cutting everything. You know, there's a reason, you know, all this shit's happening. It's because the Tories are fucking up for a lot of people. Then all this rage and was kind of focused.
And what I really liked about the documentary was the fact that, you know, you highlighted this aspect that it's about anger. And one of the things that made this band so successful is because they talk about exactly that, right? What happened next? Like, how did you go about distributing it? Can you, like, if someone, for example, has a really good story, films it, it's likely to find a good editor, you know, puts it together, it's got a good film. What did you do about distribution and marketing?
You know, we've got it in a lot of cinemas. I don't know the exact numbers, but towards 100 screenings across Europe. You know, more than 80, maybe 100 max, which was wicked. You know, we screened in Sweden or something. Like, I saw it online. Someone had been to review it. A film guy in Sweden had gone to see the film there. I'm like, holy shit, it's in Sweden. That's great.
Okay.
And in Germany quite a lot. So they've got a big fan base in Germany. So it's in Germany quite a bit as well, I believe.
What would you say was the challenge in you know, during that production for you, and were there things that you would have done differently?
Fuck, everything was a challenge. Holy shit! You know, it was because we were so trial by fire. You know, we were just kind of doing all this. You know, I drove the entire tour. God knows how many miles we done. You know, I was filming it all, recording sound, so that was mad. It's the hardest bit, really, was a bit of self-control. So when we were on tour, you know, you go into so many gigs, there's a lot of people having a bit of fun and a bit of a party. The bands were very good, actually, especially Jason, because he wanted to look after his voice. But we're meeting loads of people in the crowd, and everyone's saying, "Oh, mate, can I buy you a beer? You know, do you want this? You know, do you want a beer?" And that. And I mean, it's easy to say yes, and then, you know, before you know it, you got to drive 400 miles. You got a bloody hangover. But you know, so it was hard. We had a couple of nights because we didn't have to film in the morning, so we could have a bit of fun and really chill out. But yeah, it's going on tour. I can imagine, you know, even if you're a musician, you put a, you know, 20-year-old on a rock star or whatever, Justin Bieber or someone like that, you put them on tour when they're young, they're just going to party all the time. But remembering, you know, just remembering you've got a real serious job to do. That was, yeah, the single biggest one.
Was there anything that you would have done differently about that film?
Spent more time in pre-production, definitely, because we had about 3 weeks, if that, pre-production before we went on tour. That would be like researching locations. Locations were always difficult because, you know, say we book a place with a venue. I won't mention any place, but so this venue will say, "Oh yeah, you can film upstairs if you want to do an interview. It's quiet." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool," but for them it's quiet. It's not film quiet. So we're filming in a bar upstairs. There's like an air vent. There's a beer delivery. All the fridges are humming. I'm like, "Oh, this sounds shit. This is going to be really bad." And then some of them, you know, they say, "Oh, we don't really have any space to do an interview," but there's, you know, I know this pub round the corner. Just do it there. And so, you know, you call the pub up there. That's totally cool. But then it's the same thing. There's always so much noise, and it's just, you know, having good location to get some really nice quality. I think all the placements we had were just about good enough. You know, we managed to avoid any big problems. Actually, in general, all across the film, we did manage to just about, through skin and our teeth, avoid anything going majorly wrong. But yeah, that would have been one thing. If we could have changed something, you know, spend a bit more time on some locations, getting some really high quality interviews.
I think they were very well shot. I didn't notice, yeah, I didn't notice any particular issues with sound.
Well, I think generally with the film, because the band are sort of so punky and they've got a really DIY nature sort of to them. If we had made like this beautifully shot 4K, 8K film whatever that had all these slow motion shots, Jason Tyney's shoelaces, sunsets, it would be crap. No one would care. You know, to have it, we wanted it a bit rough around the edges, a bit raw, because that's what the band is like. So having some limitations actually kind of helped us get the film we have, because I think it's perfect the way it is.
Just for all those who are a little bit more into, you know, the techie aspect of it, what cameras did you use for that film?
We filmed it on a Blackmagic cinema camera and a Blackmagic pocket camera. It's because I had a cinema camera already. I had my own one, and then we bought a pocket camera to go with it, and we had one set of Sammy Yang lenses. So I think it's mostly on like a 24 and an 85. I think it's mostly shot on. But the cameras are great. The quality is beautiful, especially for the price range of them. You know, a lot of people said they're not very good in like low lights, or those, you know, the original ones weren't. But these were great. All the stuff in the gigs came out perfectly. We had no big issues apart from batteries. Going through batteries like there's no tomorrow. The cameras are great for it.
Yeah, I remember. Was that the Blackmagic 2.5K?
Yeah, it's like a bloody car battery. It's so heavy. It's like,
I remember that camera. From a post-production point of view, I had a big issue with that camera. That is, one, the amount of data, and then the fact that everything comes into, you know, as raw pictures. There's a lot of post-production work with it. If you're planning to shoot on that camera, I would say that adds to your post-production budget, because everything will take longer. So when choosing a camera, you know, a lot of people don't think about it, but especially if you're tight with production, the choice of your camera will impact your post-production.
It's one thing when I'm teaching, I always say to students, you know, you see a lot of young filmmakers, they'll go and spend all their budget on like a red or something, film it in 4K, and then they'll have one hard drive or one SD card or whatever it is, red mag, and they'll run it out in 2 minutes. It's like, well, it's, you know, unless you can afford it in post, don't bother with crazy 4K stuff like that.
Even production houses now are realizing that, you know, most of the stuff that they do goes on YouTube. YouTube converts it to their, you know, codec that is not that great. And how many people can actually watch something in 4K, so have a 4K TV that they watch on? Most people watch it even on you know, on their little phones. So a lot of production houses are going back to shoot in full HD, because they realize how much, you know, quicker and cheaper the post-production becomes. And, you know, the quality of what you get, even in corporate, if you light it properly, you've got really good stories. So you work on pre-production, you light it properly, you've got a fairly good camera, you don't need to shoot in 4K. How did you get into filmmaking?
Oh, I always wanted to get into filmmaking. I had a dream about it when I was a little kid. But I grew up in North London. I grew up in an estate, and it wasn't, you know, we didn't have much money in that time. And I always knew like filmmaking was like the posh boys game. You always see these people that are all kind of, you know, minted already, and then they're going to making films. So it was kind of just, you know, unobtainable, I guess, at that point. So I loved Where's Wally when I was a kid, and there was one Where's Wally in Hollywood, and I always loved that one so much, just because it had some of them, they weren't like film sets. I was trying to look across all these film sets and everything. I loved always any film I had, if I had it on like VHS or DVD a bit later, and it was like the special edition had behind the scenes stuff on. I always loved watching behind the scenes, seeing how these people were making it. But still, that was still a pipe dream. You know, when I was 18 or so, I just wanted to get pissed all the time. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. So I worked in hospitality, and I kind of worked my way up to a hotel manager. When I was sort of 24, 25, you know, I guess I was actually kind of good at it. But I hated it. I was getting nothing back from it. This is kind of around this time that, you know, probably a lot of people will be in the same boat. A camera called the Canon 5D Mark II came out, and actually a couple of my mates bought some. They decided to start their own wedding videography business. Like fucking God knows why. You know, I'm just going out to the house, hanging out, drinking beer and stuff, and then I started playing with these cameras, and it's the first time I've ever held like a DSLR camera. You know, obviously phone cameras were about before that, but they're crap. And then I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I've never held anything that costs well, never held anything what is relatively that cheap. I could film stuff. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then at the same time, all the editing software was getting, pretty cheap for what it is. I think, what's the other Apple one? Is it Final Cut Pro, isn't it? That was getting really massive about that time. Everyone was buying a MacBook and getting Final Cut Pro. Everyone decided they wanted to be in media. And then YouTube was getting big as well, around the sort of 2000, 2007, 2008 time. So for the first time ever, you could film it, edit, and distribute it yourself. It was like, a big game changer in the film industry. As I said, lots of people would have gone through like a similar experience that I did. So that's kind of where it kicked off practically. And then I thought, my job as a hotel management, I thought, God, I hate this. I quit doing that. I thought I went to study fine. I've always liked fine art, but I thought I might want to be an artist in a more traditional sense, like a painter. I always kind of wanted to be a painter as well. So I went to do a 1 year foundation degree. It involved lots of different art forms. Then you got to specialise in one. For the first 3 weeks, done everything, and then after that, you chose one you wanted to do. But there was film, photography, and animation was all rolled into one where I was. So I'd done that for a year, and I loved it. Made some short films. Then the first short films I ever made, they were shit. I'm never going to show them to anyone. But he's done some bits there. Then I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I started a BA at the CAS. And then, that was 2013 or something like that, started. And then, luckily I worked hard, I've always worked hard, working in hotels is hard work. Quite often you'll do 12 hours a day working in a hotel, just the same as on a film set, you can do 12 hours a day. Like, that was kind of normal. It wasn't like a shock in that sense. And just kind of got into it, fell into it, met people, I got on with them. Everyone was kind of, well, in the class I was in my BA, there's quite a few people there who are about my age, a little bit older. And we're kind of just chilled out. I still speak to them. Like one of the guys, Alex, who I met in uni, he shoots like half the stuff. I still speak to the guys, Mo, who's produced a lot of stuff that I've done as well. So, I just met people there, got on with them and stayed in it. It's been alright. It's been alright since. So it's glad I made that decision. Yeah, my mates started that business. If they had never started that business, though, I probably wouldn't ever be it.
What would you say are the things that you got the most out of university? And if you went back in time, would you do it again?
So I went to university. I think I was 25 when I started, and definitely if I'd done the normal thing like school, college, university, started uni when I was 18, like I wouldn't have done anything. I would have just got pissed all the time. I wouldn't have known what I wanted to do. So personally, for me, going to university was great at 25, but I know for everyone it's different. So there's always this argument like, should you go to film school or should you not go to film school? Should you just go and make films? Honestly, it's different for everyone. Everyone's going to take out their own thing from it. I mean, I've known people who have gone to like some of the best film schools in the world and paid shitloads of money for it, and now they're not doing anything. But I know people who have never been to film school and they're making some great films. So it's difficult. But then, on the same hand, there's people who have been to film school and they're making Hollywood films now. So it's really personally dependent on how you embrace it. Like, you have to work hard, whether you go to film school or not. For me, what I got most out of it was meeting people. Meeting like-minded people that were driven in the same way. That was absolutely essential for me having the success I did, because there's quite a lot of good people in my class, and I didn't. The projects we were working on, they were too small to be working with everyone. So I kind of worked with these people like Alex and Ross and that. And then there's like another group of people who are also pretty good. I'm thinking, shit, I want our stuff to be like fucking best, I want to kick their ass all the time. So a little bit of friendly, we're all friends, it's all friendly competition, but meeting like-minded people who are still driven. And a lot of these people I still speak to, I get on well with. I've worked with so many times, and we catch up for beers quite often. But yeah, so for me, it was the people. Like, if you asked if I went back, would I do it any differently? No, I don't think I would. I think it worked out fine. Honestly, it worked out as well as it could have done for me. I don't think it could have done any better.
So you graduated in 2016. What did you do next? So work-wise, like how did you get work?
So I graduated university, and the first thing I'd done, I was working in a bar straight away. I definitely had the bills to pay. You've got to be sensible as a filmmaker. You have to pay your bills at the end of the day. I don't live with my parents, so if I don't pay 1 month, I'm fucked. So yeah, I was just doing that kind of straight away, get some money in. You meet a lot of people working in bars and restaurants, and it's good. It forces you to talk to people. It's what I say, when I teach, and I recommend this to everyone. If you're young and you're starting out in film, working in a bar and you're a bit nervous or a bit shy, working in a bar or a restaurant as like a waiter, waitress, barman, whatever, is great because it forces you to talk to people. It forces you to get over like sort of confidence barrier. So I was doing that just to make ends meet. Even though not long before that, only 9 months before that, I was selling out cinemas across Europe. Now I'm in a bar. I think I should shit. I hate doing this, but it's not going to be forever. And then I got onto a film. So when we were making Sleaford Mods, a guy called Andrew contacted us. Andrew Tiernan, and he's an actor director. He was the exec producer for the film. But he called me up afterwards and said, he's doing a film. Do I want to come and shoot it? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm working in the bar. It's awful. Get me out of this place. So I was doing that straight away. Made this film called UK18. He directed it. I filmed it. It's pretty weird, trippy, like a conspiracy theory, heavily driven sort of documentary piece, and it's kind of like themes of natural born killers. I think it's a bit of a Marmite film. Either going to love it or hate it. It's very different. It's quite arty. But that's what it is. This filmmaking. It was fun. Had a great time. Met amazing people who I'm still in contact with. So just taking it, enjoying it. Don't let the success I had on my second year with Sleaford Mods get to my head. Don't be a prick about it. Still be down to earth. It says that I'm working in the bar. I can't be arrogant of anything. That's at the end of the day.
It takes time.
It does. It takes time, so much time.
Yeah, I think someone told me that it takes on average 10 years to develop yourself professionally in our industry. Having a strategy and being also very practical about it, I think it's quite important. If you know that you need to work straight away out of uni, specialize into something that is a workable skill. Think about the fact that at university, no one wants to do sound. Whereas now, exactly. If I have a small, production or a film, etc., the first thing that I have to budget is a sound guy, because it's so difficult to find someone who will do it for free. So, having that strategy and thinking about that, it's really, I think it can be very beneficial for a lot of people. What do you think?
Well, actually, if I went back, what would I do differently at university? That's, in hindsight, I would go back and learn how to be a sound operator, because there's so few. They're always so hard to get, and they can charge you whatever the fuck they want because they're so in demand.
Yes.
So yeah, I wish I know nothing about sound whatsoever. I'm all right with editing, but I didn't pick up any big technical skills like you had. So I think it's really good that you mentioned it. And to have other skills that are transferable, because that can pay the bills.
What are other ways that you can make your money and survive in this industry and keep working and keep developing yourself?
I think without going in like technical, if you want to work in film and you're not a technical person, you don't have the editing software or the knowledge or whatever, or even the interest or the ability to do it. Don't have any shame in having a day job. As I mentioned before, I worked in hospitality. I still every now and then do a bit of hospitality work. The good thing about it is there's always a job. It's so ad hoc. Most places are pretty cool. Like I know the hospitality industry really well. The staff turnaround's really quick. Staff join and then bug off in 3 months all the time. So I have no guilt in working somewhere for a month and never going back, because it happens constantly. They're used to it. Or, you know, just be honest. Let's say that you know, I've got something else going. I just want to do Saturdays, something like that, and you'll probably get something. And it's, you know, as long as you give them a bit of notice, that most places are pretty cool if you want to take extra time off. And it, you know, it can guarantee your rent every month. You know, even doing what, four days. You know, you might be doing long days, 12 hours all day on a Saturday or Sunday. That's going to, for most cases, cover your rent, or pretty much cover your rent. So, you know, if you're getting 500 quid or ish a month off that, that's, you know, that's going to do quite a bit of your outgoings. So maybe if you're working in film, maybe only making like a grand a month or something, which happens at times. You know, sometimes it can be really bad. Sometimes you're lucky to make a grand a month from film work. It can just help cover you over.
Yeah.
Good thing is, don't spend it too much. When you've got money, don't spend it all.
Yeah.
Because you will have times, you know, if you do ever get you know, a good paycheck, you know, a couple of grands, or you get a couple of those, you know, put some of it aside, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You could go for 2 months without any work. You know, like we're going through now, it's COVID. Well, as we're filming this, it's lockdown now. No one's got any work on, and luckily I saved up quite a bit, because I thought, you know, obviously I had no idea this was going to happen, but I thought, you know, there could be a time when I can't get work and I'm going to need to pay the bills and all that. So I kind of planned for something.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really important to have this strategy and think just thinking mid long term. It takes time to develop a career. You also mentioned that you teach as well. That at a certain point, obviously, you know, someone offered you that kind of job, etc. How do you find it? And
So I started teaching, it was a couple of years ago. I was just doing like 1-day lectures, like as a guest lecturer, guest speaker. I started doing it because I thought, you know, it's pretty good money actually, especially at universities. But I really started to enjoy it. I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I did. And one of the places I taught at, the head lecturer there, he said, "Oh, the students seemed really engaged when they were talking to me." He says, maybe it's because I was a little bit younger. Or at least, you know, I think I look younger than 32 anyway. And his was because it's like, you know, it's someone closer to them as a peer, rather than like a much older person talking to them. They can connect easier, which I thought, yeah, maybe that does work. Maybe that is that I always want to, whenever I'm teaching, wherever it is, I want to break away the us and them sort of thing. Some students I know, they put all their tutors on like a pedestal and think, oh, they can never reach that. Or not tutors, anyone, like a filmmaker, an actor, a DP, whatever, but they put them on this such a big pedestal. But we're all humans too, you know, we still make mistakes. We've all done things we don't like, you know. Don't put yourself on the back foot already by putting a barrier in front of you. So yeah, so when I teach, I try and really like to break that barrier down. You know, I talk to students like I'm talking to you now. I don't put on any face or any rubbish like that. You know, this is who I am. I don't hide that. Yeah, just being honest. You know, have fun.
yeah, it's really interesting what you said, because this is exactly the idea for this podcast. That's why I'm interested talking to people who are maybe 5-10 years ahead, you know, in this industry. All those people like Scorsese, when they started, the industry is completely different.
Completely different. Yeah.
Completely
That's
different.
one thing I like to tell my students as well. We know, whether it's acting students or filmmaking students, you know, it's really good to look up to people. You know, like Scorsese, or, you know, even going further back to like Akira Kurosawa, something like that. But to compare their journey into film is impossible now. You can't do that. It's so different nowadays. Though, I don't always think it's good to necessarily look at someone, like idolize them and think, oh, they've done it this way, so I'm going to do it their way. I think that's quite bad, because, you know, you're not finding yourself. But if you do want to do that, look at someone who is about 5 or 10 years above you, who've gone through it in a relatively similar generation, because it's so different. It's entirely different now.
Let's talk about the role of a director. What skills people should, you know, focus on, and what skills should people develop to become good directors, you think?
Communication. That's the thing you need first of all as a director. Communication. You need to be able to talk. It's your idea, it's your vision. You need to be able to convey this to everyone in your crew. And most of the time, you're not going to be filming it. You're not going to be acting in it. You're not going to be cutting it. You're not going to be calibrating it. You must be able to tell the people who are doing that exactly what you want. You kind of want no questions. You should be clear enough that people understand you straight away. I think a good thing is not necessarily a strength, so to say, but knowing your weaknesses, knowing what you're not good at. Don't try and be a jack of all trades. If you want to be a director, focus on directing. If don't think because Quentin Tarantino is a good writer and a good director, don't think you must be a good writer as well. And don't think I want to direct, I also want to be Roger Deakins. Don't try and be one of them. Don't be two of them. You don't spread yourself too thin or anything. Know what you're good at, and if there's something you're not good at, hire someone who's good at it. It's yes, I think knowing what you're not good at is probably one of the strongest things you can have.
What was it that attracted you to the role of a director? So why do you want to be a director?
I guess it's obviously because I love art, I love telling stories, I love making things happen. But I'm also quite good at getting things done. I'm kind of good at communicating. I've always been quite a leader, and I've always been able to get things done. People seem to trust me when I say it, which is cool. They do what I ask. I'm never a dickhead to them. I don't have to shout at anyone, and they'll happily do it. I've worked with people who said they've worked with other directors and it's just been chaos. It's been pandemonium. Like no one knows what's going on. But on my sets, it's always cool. People know what they're doing. Obviously, it can't. Any film gets a bit stressful at times, but I've never had anything like kick off or go really wrong, because the best thing as a director, if you turn up on set and as a director you don't have much to do, that's perfect, because your work is done. You should be so prepared by the minute you turn off filming. Filming costs so much money. You've got to rent cameras, pay everyone. It's so much money. If you turn up there unprepared, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So if you prepare, good skill. Being able to plan ahead, think about things that could go wrong.
Pre-production for you is really important.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Pre-production. I love rehearsing. I rehearse things for ages, just so the second we get on the set, boom, they can do it. In a couple of takes. Go over every last little thing and make sure you break everything of the script down. You must know everything: production design, DP, sound. You must know absolutely everything before you start shooting, because if things go wrong on set, you're wasting time and you're wasting money.
What about, are there any courses or that people do you think are valuable for becoming a director?
For specific courses, I think it's quite difficult because it's very specific to everyone. The single best course you can do is life, though. Have some life experiences before you go into directing. If you want to start straight away as a director, you want to have a bit of experience in your life, or something under your belt. It doesn't have to be within film. I think just have a bit of sense, learn how to speak to people. Again, coming down to the communication and doing that. Don't get your first directing gig and try and be like a bossy, arrogant Stanley Kubrick 137 takes, because everyone's going to laugh at you. People you will see straight through it. But yeah, have life experience. It's personally, courses can be great. There's masterclasses, there's short courses, there's film schools, there's BA courses, summer courses. There's so many courses out there that specialise in directing or any role within film. Really, they can be good. They might not work for everyone. You might do them and feel like you're not got your money's worth. You might pay for it, you love it, and want to do more and more. It's just personal. So, if you do want to do a course, research it. If you are going to pay money to do a course, really research it first. That's the only thing I'd really say.
I did a couple of courses with Raindance, and I liked them. They're not too expensive. I learned quite a lot.
Like Elliot, I've met Elliot a couple of times. He's so passionate. He's so into it. He's dedicated all of his life into it. The Raindance, yeah, really good one. You mentioned it. The courses, I've not done them. I know people like yourself. I do know people who have done them and said they've all been brilliant.
How do you find work as a director?
That's a good question, because it's never enough.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends. So I do fiction. I don't really work in corporate or anything like that. So a couple of websites that I think everyone should check out. There's Shooting People is one of them. If you don't know it, have a look. It's really good. You know, there's never like loads of work. I've definitely found work and met people on there that I'm still working with. So it's definitely worked for me. There's one called Mandy as well, the Mandy Network. It used to be called something else, I can't remember, but it's called Mandy now. That one is a little bit more expensive. It's like 20 quid a month, but that's where I got Scales from. So I got onto Scales through a Mandy ad. There was a lot of work on this one, on Mandy actually. And a lot of it is quite technical. A lot of it will be with big companies like, you know, BBC, Lionsgate, the studios. There will always be advertising, you know, lots of roles on there. But, you know, the director one's not as often. And it can be through friends, you know. A couple of times people just ask me and says, you know, call me up and said, yeah, mate, I'm doing a film, do you want to direct it? I'm like, yeah, cool, let's read the script. And if I like it, I'll say yes. So just knowing people, word of mouth, you know, people got to like you. You know, if they think you're an arsehole, they won't ask you to do it.
How did you get your break?
So I think the origin, where it stems from, the break is through this company called Gig Sluts. But before that, so I think it was, I kind of relatively into my first year of university. There's a guy in my class, Ross, who I still speak to and get on well with, but we had just become friends on Facebook. And then like 3 days later, I saw it said there's all these filmmaking groups on Facebook. There's loads. Like, I can't remember this. There's too many to name. I can't remember which one it was, but it said Ross just joined this group. So I clicked on join now as well, to check it out. And then a couple of days after that, I saw a post in there from a girl called Caitlin, looking for someone to come and film bands, for Gig Sluts. And I thought, God, you know, it's a silly name. I'll apply to it. It sounds pretty cool. I like bands, I like filming, you know, gonna have a lot of fun, you know, shit money. But, you know, I applied to it thinking there'd be loads of people applying. I wouldn't get it. Apparently I was the only person who applied, or the only person who was like a band. I know. So I got it. And then, yeah, then eventually that led to working with the Sleaford Mods. But literally, if I hadn't clicked join that group, or maybe if Ross hadn't joined that group, I don't know where it would have come from. So
Yeah.
just a little bit of luck, maybe. For anyone watching, you know, who uses Facebook, you know, I don't go on Facebook often. I read stuff. I don't post, but I read stuff. There's so many film and TV groups on Facebook. Some of them are like private, some of them are invite only. There's so many, and there's a lot of shit being posted in them, but there's a lot of good stuff being posted, a lot of jobs, from all across the board, from runners to producers to exec producers to, you know, BBC jobs on there. So yeah, do check them out as a place to look for work. As you mentioned before, actually, yeah, Facebook really good.
You mentioned Shooting People and Mandy.com. Anything else that comes to mind?
Instagram, you know, Instagram's really big in the filmmaking community. I'm pretty crap with it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty rubbish with the self-promotion stuff. I kind of don't like doing it. I can't afford anyone to do it for me. Things like Twitter, I've never really used Twitter. I don't really get it. LinkedIn, I don't really use. I know people do. I think Facebook and Instagram are really big for that. We've got like Mandy, Shooting People. There's IMDb. You have to pay, I think, 20, including tax, it's like £23 a month for IMDb. It costs a little bit more. You know, there's no point in paying for it until you've got something to put on there. Well, IMDb Pro, I mean, it's IMDb Pro is the paid one, and that way you can upload your own content. We have to pay for it, so, you know, don't spend your money until you've got something to put on there. What else could be good? Having your own website, again, it comes at a price. Making your own website and hosting it's kind of the more expensive part.
Yeah.
You can have something really, you know, really simple design. It doesn't have to be anything flashy.
I've redone my website recently, but you know, it's really difficult to do your website, your showreel, you know, your CV. Everyone knows this, but at the same time, you just need to get it done. I have to say also I'm not very good at the social media aspect because I think what is important with social media is being consistent with what you post. So whereas I'm like for months I would not post anything. So for example, I've started that page Master Filmmaking that earlier was called Short Film Blog, and I've started it 5 years ago now, and I got to a point where I had almost daily people because it was the idea was to post short films, just watch short films and post the ones that I like, just review them, and I got to like 3,800 likes, I think. It was pretty good, and I was getting messages every single day with people sending me their short films. But then for 3 years I didn't touch it, so the likes went down to 3.3, and at the same time, because I didn't post anything, now if I post something, 5 people, 4 people like it, because it's not like it's Facebook, the algorithm doesn't see it as an active. So it's like you've done the work, then you leave it, and you have to do it again, or it just doesn't pick up again. I don't know how that works, but I think consistency is very important in terms of social media. Yeah, I'm not that good at it. Instagram I post mostly for myself, but also hashtags is like I'm trying to work it out. Let's say I'm learning. Yeah. If you could go back in time and speak to yourself, a younger self, when would you go and what would you tell yourself?
That's a good question. That's a good
Right?
question. Wow. I'll go back in time to saying yes to this interview. No, if I could go back in time to one point, I don't want to say anything too specific about certain films or projects I've worked on, but there's been a couple of times where, as a director, I thought money was being spent in the wrong way, and perhaps I should have been, but the producers wanted to spend it in a different way. I perhaps should have been more assertive over to how and where that money was spent.
Finish this phrase for me. Life as a director is?
The best job you can ever have. You're making film and you're peeking, you're doing research, you're peeking into what that person's life would be. Because you're always learning, every film you make throws up, or every story you tell throws up so many more challenges, and just not challenges is like technical and making it, but learning about it, writing it, or getting it right, getting the performance right with the actors is learning. You're always learning. It's always a different subject. What you're learning about, every film's different. Always learning about different things. And it's great. I love learning. It's life. It's good to learn in life. You don't just want to sit under the rock. It's good to know things.
Yeah, yeah. You actually made me think about something else that I wanted to maybe dig into with you, because it's one of the things that probably as a director you have to be good at. How do you work with actors? How do you make how do you communicate to with an actor, and just do you have a technique or style, or how do you convey what you want?
I love working with actors. There's some people, you may have heard that, people watching may have heard the term like an actor's director or a technical director. There's some people who just, would rather spend time working with their DP and gaffers than they do their actors, and some who only want to work with the actors. I'm kind of a little bit in the middle, a bit more swayed towards the actors. But as I said, I love rehearsing. I'll rehearse things, in great detail before, and I'm always quite flexible. So as the cast get into it, start getting into the dialogue, I will always ask them, how's your character feeling when you're saying it? If they're reading the lines exactly as they are on paper, does that feel natural for you? When you get your character into the character's flow, and you really get inside them, is it still working the way it is? Because we can change it. If it's a line of dialogue, as long as it's saying the same thing, the way it's said can change. Not always, but it can do. So kind of giving them the freedom.
So it's really interesting what you said. So you're open to adapt the way an actor says something, as long as it delivers what you need to be delivered, both in terms of emotion and information.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, yeah. And but that just comes to rehearsal. The characters really have to know who the characters, know how they interact, know their stories. Giving your actors everything they need as well. So giving them a backstory, talking it through, taking time with them in character. Even like Skyping them in character. Give them situations. I like to get them to rehearse. So I love improv. I do a lot of Meisner and improv. Meisner's acting and technique and improv is as well. But if, say, the scene or the scene or the story of the film, is like this big, what scene in the film is this much of the story? I'll be like, okay, so we're going to rehearse this, but we're going to improv from here. So I want you to improv the build up to the film. Why does the scene start this way? Improv that, and then slowly bring it into the dialogue, really get into it, really set the character. I think for me that comes through doing loads of Meisner, loads of repetition. I want people to react. I don't want them to sit and wait for their cue. That's boring to watch. It's just not good acting. Just to make it as natural as possible, but giving them chance to work as well. I don't want robots. If someone just comes and reads a line of the script, it's boring. There's no emotion.
So this is one way that you found to add more layers and more depth to the character, is to start much earlier than the scene, to give them that time to kind of like immerse themselves into the character.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're starting a scene which, depending on the emotion of the scene, if they've got kind of neutral emotions, you can generally go in there pretty quick. If you're starting a scene when there's very heated emotions, for example, get the characters fired up first of all. If they're starting a scene with an argument, what started the argument to begin with. Get them to improv all that. Get their blood flowing. Get their faces red, and then get them into the argument.
Yeah. Did you?
But that's it. Sorry, just to clarify that, I do that in rehearsals. I don't really do that on set, because in rehearsals you have time on set. They just need to. You can't improv for 10 minutes before you start shooting, because you're wasting time and money.
So that's why you work a lot in with them beforehand. Yeah. Any other tips that you would give in terms of working with the actors?
I think before, with some of my really early stuff, we just weren't rehearsing enough, and then I was, it's kind of starting it. They're not quite flowing straight away. Near the end of the day, we would say if we were shooting for 8 hours, that between hours 4 and 6, perhaps, they would really peak. So they would really peak. The performances were best about that time of the day. Later than that, they're a bit tired. I understand that, everyone's tired. It drops, but at the beginning, because we haven't rehearsed, they're still learning the characters themselves. They're still having to make these decisions. In their mind whilst acting it. It should just be natural, but because we hadn't rehearsed it enough. But now, obviously, rehearsing it as much as possible.
That's a really interesting tip. So you would, obviously, where it's possible, you would leave the best or the most important scene, you would put it in the middle of the day, more or less.
Oh no, it's different for every film, I think.
I don't know if I understood correctly, but what I got from it is that the actors kind of like have their peak performance around midday. No, I got it wrong.
Within 4 to 6 hours of filming, it's about 60% of the way through the day.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's when they're really getting into the flow, they're really getting into the mood of it. But if you rehearse it enough, that 60% is like 1%. When it starts, if they come in there like that, you're good all around.
Yeah.
But even what I have learned, in hindsight, I guess, for anyone who's making like their first films or shooting films or short films on no budget, it can be expensive. Rehearsing costs more money. You've got event space, you've got to get people there, give them some food and water and all that. If you don't have enough time to do that, you can rehearse when you're setting up. It can take hours and hours to put a camera up and lights up. I don't even understand how long it can take so long to light scenes at sometimes. But as a director, you don't need to be there the whole time. You have DPs, gaffers, and ADs who can look after that. unless there's heavy makeup going on for your cast, you know, they won't take that long getting ready. You've got 2 hours to kill. You can start rehearsing, even if you're in a different room. You can do improv, you can do Meisner, you can start building them into character whilst your crew's getting the scene of the shot, whatever it is, set.
What's your next project? What are you working on or will be working on once this all thing with
Lockdown
COVID?
ends, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually working on a film at the moment called Wild Boars. It's a short film. It's about a woman who copes, who's coming to terms with an abusive foster father. But it's all told through her daughter's perspective. So it's very challenging, kind of getting the story. Um, you know, I didn't have like the greatest relationship with my stepfather when I was growing up, so I brought some of those influences in. Obviously, what happens in Wild Boars like didn't happen to me. That is fiction, but it was kind of bringing some of that, you know, sort of my past in a way, into the film. But it's been up until lockdown happened, everything was going really well. So it's written by a chap called Anthony Bionomo, who's an Emmy-winning designer. We've got a lady called Tippy Elgar, who I've worked with twice before. She's in this. Basically, I wrote the treatment, Anthony wrote the script. And I had everyone in mind when he wrote it. I kind of wrote the treatment with all the cast in mind. They all said yes, which was really good. But yeah, I've got Tippy Elgar, who's been in 2 of the lesbian films, Love on the Cards and The Love Letter. Kane, who was in Scales. I've got Tim Bentinck, who I worked with on UK 18. Tim Bentinck's been in so many things. It's really fantastic coming on board. And Olivia Carmichael, who was in Pinky Promise. So far we started to get everyone together, working with Bayer, who you spoke to a couple of weeks ago. So it's great. Just needs the lockdown to end so we can start keep the ball rolling on it.
Yeah. How many locations do you have? Do you know how many days of shooting you'll have?
Well, we're doing it in one. It's all in one location. We're just trying to work out logistics, though. As anyone watching may know or may soon discover, shooting inside London is very expensive, but your travel costs are very low. If you shoot outside of London, locations are generally a lot cheaper, but your travel costs are a lot higher. So it's really trying to balance that out. So we're looking to do 3 or 4 days. I would like to do 3 days and keep the cost down. I think it's possible. However, one of our actresses is only 14. So someone that age, they're limited on certain hours they can film per day. So we can't do 12-hour days or not really do 12-hour days. It's a weird law though. It's like their filming time starts from when you hit record. So you can have them in makeup for 10 hours and then the filming time begins. It doesn't make any sense, but yes, that's what it is. So still just working out the logistics that way.
What was your last film that you watched? And
the last film I watched was mid-90s. I watched it last night and it was brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. I'd seen the trailers, I knew vaguely what it was about already, but I was really surprised how great it was. You know, it's Jonah Hill's first time directing. I thought it was directed brilliantly. Like, it's fucking nailed it. It's such, you know, shot in 4:3 as well. I didn't realise that when I started watching it. That was in 4:3.
what did you like about that film in particular, or was there something that really stuck
Just
out
the
for you?
story. The kids, you know, they're all going through kind of these fucked up times. You know, definitely, you know, it's like things that I experienced when I was growing up. You know, I never really got into skateboarding. I like BMXing, but always in the skate park, that sort of thing. So very similar to things that I saw. And it's just the nostalgia trip as well, a lot of it. I mean, the first shot, I think, of the main character is he's wearing a Street Fighter 2 t-shirt, then he's got a Beavis and Butthead t-shirt. I was like, oh, some of these things are great. You know, it's really a bit of a trip down memory lane in some of that.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a great film. I think Jonah Hill's a fantastic actor. You know, he started off in these more comic, you know, Superbad. Superbad was great, but I don't think anyone took it too seriously, really. And then it took him a bit of time to become, you know, the actor he is now. If he continued directing, this is a great first step as a director. You know, it's a really, really tight film.
What were the top three films that had an impact on you and why?
It might be a bit of an unusual list because I'm not just going to give the obvious answers like Stanley Kubrick or anyone like that. But when I was a kid, I mean, like little kid, like 3 or 4 years old, I spent hours. We only had like the 4 channels at the time. Like we didn't have a few. Only some posh people weren't capable. We didn't have it. But I watched for hours on like weekends or on the summer holidays when it was raining, like these Asian or Japanese, perhaps B movies. Like it's really like they've got there's the dodgy models eating all the buildings. I watch those. I always kind of love. Well, I have no idea what these, literally no idea what these films are called or who they're by. But I remember I loved animation or things like that. But Jason and the Argonauts, that film scared the shit out of me so much as a little kid with the skeletons. They were so awkwardly animated. It was so unhuman. It was so weird. And as a kid, I couldn't comprehend stop motion. But I didn't really understand they were taking photographs. And it was so weird. I just remember it because I couldn't grasp what was happening. I tried to understand it, but I couldn't. And it scared the hell out of me. And I've always remembered that. I would say the next one. I think I'm pretty sure this is the first film I saw. It's definitely the first film I remember seeing in the cinema. Was Jurassic Park. I love the original Jurassic Park. I'm a big Spielberg fan. I kind of grew up watching a lot of his films. And just the spectacle of seeing Jurassic Park was just like fucking wow. You know, it was insane. You know, it was just so good. I still love the film. You know, I always put it in like my top 10 list. If someone asks me and people laugh and say, why you put in Jurassic Park in a top 10 list, I'm like, no, the film's brilliant. You know, it's a really, really good film. Plot holes or not, the film's great.
Yeah.
And the third one was a little bit harder. I was a bit older. I was probably like 18 or 19 when I first watched it. And I didn't really know that much about film at that age. I didn't really care that much, to be honest. But I watched Gummo by Harmony Korine. Gummo's so weird and so different. Like, I don't think I'd seen Natural Born Killers before I saw Gummo, because I'd probably say Natural Born Killers otherwise, because it's so weird, it's so different, it's shot so different, it's made so different. But Gummo, it's like you don't know, there's like no story, or there's such a little bit of story. It's like these vignettes of people in a town in America with no real reason. I was like, shit, why are people making films? It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Like, why is this on a DVD? Like, this is crazy. But yeah, Gummo. So if you haven't seen Gummo, you know, if you're quite new to film and you want to experience different films, I would say a great stepping stone is like Gummo and Harmony, like the rest of Harmony Korine's work as well. There is, you know, far more experimental film, but as a stepping stone, Gummo. And Natural Born Killers are great as well.
Nathan, thanks a lot for this chat. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great chatting to you. Cool.